So let's just settle back and let Spirit move us as we just give so much gratitude, so much thanksgiving for coming together this morning to share this time together. I know that this time is blessed by each heart, hand, and mind who has come together to make it possible, and each heart, each hand, and each mind who joins us this morning for creating that connection, that even though we are distanced by miles, by feet, by inches, we are still close together because we are one heart, one spirit, one community. And I know that this morning is just a treasure. It is that deep place for people to be reminded of the truth of who they are, of the magnificence of life, that despite any apparent conditions, there is a truth which outshines any negative condition that we could possibly imagine. And so knowing that love is the very center of our life, I know that we move forward in this morning with grace, with ease, with love, with joy. And that in all of that we find peace, individually and together. If you'd like to anchor these words for yourself, please join me in saying, and so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to share a song with you that I wrote about certain people being certain where they're going. Yeah. Well, he walks like he knows every secret, and he talks like his life's on the line, and he never gives in to the contrary motion that leaves some of us spinning behind. And she stands with her boots pointed forward. She finishes all that she starts, and she won't be content till she's one of those people whose arms reach on up for the stars. And certain people are not quite at home on the ground. And certain people never blend into the crowd. Certain people. And when he walks in a room with no windows, well, he carries in his own light. And it makes the world seem like there's nothing between what you want, what you make with your mind. And certain people are not quite at home on the ground. And certain people never blend into the crowd. Certain people, certain people. So I vowed to walk straight like an arrow, and I promise to speak like I know, 'cause I'm tired of being like all of the people, uncertain of where they could go. And certain people are not quite at home on the ground. And certain people never blend into the crowd. Certain people.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you so much. So let's, as we do every Sunday, let's harmonize our hearts and our minds, placing our hand over our heart. And just begin by taking some deep breaths. It feels good to just take a breath. And saying together, and really feeling the vibration of these words: care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. One more time. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. So good morning, everyone. I'm going to begin today with some questions. The first question, which is today's topic in the CSL Journal, if you're following along in the journal: how engaged is God as us? How engaged is God as us? What a great question. Is it possible for God to be engaged with only some of us some of the time? Is God engaged with some people more than others? Interesting questions to reflect on. Saying that God is engaged with only some of us some of the time, or more people at other times, or is it as if God is split somehow, as if there's some authority figure deciding when to be engaged and when not to be? Well, the truth is that God is 100% engaged with us at all times. The question is, are we 100% engaged with God? God's always there, waiting, available with open arms, like the parable of the prodigal son returning home to the father's house, expecting his father to reject him because he blew all of his inheritance. But when he returns home, he finds that the father welcomes him with open arms. The teaching that this parable is offering us is that no matter who we are, no matter what mistakes that we've made, God welcomes us back home. God waits patiently and lovingly, never judging us for the choices and decisions that we've made, or how far we have strayed from our faith or our connection to the divine. Each of us are on a journey back home to God. We have the power to engage with the divine as much or as little as we choose. It's up to us. As babies, that's the time where when we are the most connected to God. Our hearts are open and full to overflowing with God's love. We know who we are. We don't worry about how or when we're going to be fed or how we're going to be taken care of. We completely trust and know that all of our needs are going to be taken care of. If babies could talk, they would tell us that all is well, to trust the divinity that we are. They would tell us to let go and allow that radiant love that has never been extinguished within us to shine brightly and to be a guiding force in our life. They would tell us to be engaged with spirit, because as we unite with the divine, we uncover our greatest gifts and our talents. And when we do that, we can't help but express our fullest potential in the world. That's what's possible when we fully engage with the divine. As we get older, though, life happens. And as a result, we begin to lose our faith little by little. Limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs take over, and the connection that we once had with the divine, for many of us, fades into the background. Over time, we forget the truth of our very being and the power that resides within us. We slowly disengage from the divine. We separate ourselves. But the good news is that we can make a choice to return home to the Father's house at any time. We can choose to be that divine expression. We can choose to see through the eyes of God. Imagine seeing through the eyes of God, practicing that. So we can cultivate that relationship by making a conscious choice to connect with the divine every day, by choosing to see through the eyes of God, making that conscious choice. As we make more of an effort to connect with the divine on a regular basis, eventually we move more into trust and faith that God has our back. You hear us say that all the time, but truly that is the truth, that God does have our back. And the more that we can cultivate that relationship and the more that we can connect with God, the more we know this, the more we feel this, the more we can hand over our troubles and our challenges to the divine. We trust and know that no matter how bad it is, God is right there, supporting us through it. But for some of us, it's hard to trust God and therefore to fully engage with the divine. We hear the benefits of connecting with spirit, and we may even believe that the divine lives within us. But we aren't as engaged as we could be. Something perhaps is blocking us from fully engaging, fully cultivating that relationship. Contemplate the question right now for yourself. How engaged am I with God? What is my relationship to the divine? Notice what comes to you. If you notice that you're not very engaged with God or not as engaged as you'd like to be, it doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just means that there's an opportunity here. Is there something that needs to be released in you to fully trust and partner with the divine? Is there something that needs to be forgiven in order to be fully engaged with spirit? Are you willing to do what is needed so that you can engage more powerfully with God? When you're ready, Source will reach out to take your hand and let you know that it's been here all along, just waiting for you to return home, waiting with arms outstretched, waiting to embrace you. When we're tuned into spirit, we can feel it. It's like a surge of energy running through our body. We can feel joy from the top of our head to the tips of our toes. And suddenly we know what action to take in our life. When we're tapped in, we know. We feel more hopeful. We feel more peaceful. We feel more centered, more grounded. And we can all use a little more of that these days, can't we? It's in those moments when we tap into our fullest potential and express it in the world, because there is a connection between our unification with God and fully embodying the presence of spirit and expressing all that there is, all that we are. Even in the midst of the pandemic, each of us have extraordinary things to express and give to the world. Gifts that have been given to us by the divine. And when we tap into the divinity that is there within us, when we purposely engage with spirit, it generates a natural inclination and desire to serve. We came here as souls to serve, to express the light and the love that is within us. The more we engage with God, our heart opens. We can't help but want to make a difference in the world. We came here to serve our families, our communities, our nation, and the world, and to express our fullest potential. And when we tap into that light that is within us, that potential that we are, just wants to express itself in the world. The world right now, particularly our nation, needs all of us to tap into this potential. We are a nation divided, not a nation united. The election made that very clear. We have much work to do to heal the deep wounds that are there. It has been said that President-elect Biden is the person who's going to heal the nation. But we can't put it solely on him, however, to be the healer of the nation any more than we can blame the current administration for all the discord that we have witnessed. Eddie Glaude, a professor of religion and African American studies at Princeton, said recently in an interview, "It's easy for some to place all of the blame on President Trump's shoulders. It's easy to place Pittsburgh on his shoulders. It's easy to place Charlottesville on his shoulders. It's easy to place El Paso on his shoulders. But if we're going to get past this, we cannot blame him." He went on to say that the hate was already there. The ugliness was already there. It was merely brought to the surface over these last years, but it was always there. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which is dedicated to fighting hate and bigotry, they've been tracking hate groups across the US for the last 20 plus years and have seen a gradual increase in hate groups every single year since 2000. This tells us that there is much work to be done. We can no longer stand on the sidelines and watch from afar what is happening in this country. Theodore Roosevelt said, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to those who are actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends themselves in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. And so this place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat." I love that. It's time in our nation to take a stand, to no longer be afraid to speak up, to support our Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Muslim, and LGBTQIA+ individuals. We need to continue to do our own personal anti-racism work and to do our part to heal systemic racism in our country. As spiritual beings, what are we willing to do to support the healing of our country? What stand are we willing to take? Sometimes we witness what's happening in the world and we feel helpless. We feel angry. But standing up and saying that something is wrong feels unspiritual to some. Lisa Rankin, a medical doctor, writer, and teacher, says this: "Taking a firm stand is not an unspiritual thing to do. Taking a heartfelt stand for what is just, pure, good, and true for all beings is an act of love. Love is not a feeling because feelings come and go like waves in the ocean. Love is steadfast, unflinching, and permanent. Love is an action, and only when we give our compassion feet does our love change the world." There was a time on my spiritual journey where I didn't want to say that something was wrong. And taking a stand would have meant that I was pushing against something or resisting something which just didn't feel right to me. I didn't want to say that something was wrong. If I did, it felt like I was judging, that I was somehow unspiritual. As a spiritual person, it's been ingrained in me the importance of being kind and being loving. But as Reverend Barb said a while back in one of her talks, we are too nice sometimes as spiritual people because we don't want to do anything that will appear the slightest bit negative and therefore be considered unspiritual. I'm happy to say that I've personally moved past this belief. Yes, I still care what people think, but I have no problem now saying that something is wrong. The police brutality and racist inequality that has taken place in this country is wrong. It is wrong that Black, Indigenous, people of color are being cursed at, chased at, assaulted, and killed simply because of the color of their skin. It is wrong. Reverend Dr. William Barber said this: not saying something is not an option. You can't see injustice and say nothing. You can't see an abuse of human beings because of their race, their creed, or their sexuality and not say something. The prophetic call demands that we say something. How will the haters learn that they're wrong unless they learn of God's love? As we engage with the divine, tapping into the unending flow of God's love within us, we discover that it's not only okay to speak up and to take a stand. We begin to recognize that we are all being called as a nation to do our part. God has created the absolute perfect combination of events over a short period of time in our nation to generate enough passion and drive within each of us to finally take action. To finally say enough is enough, and to join as allies with our BIPOC brothers and sisters. God is our trusted companion in this, always there to assist us and guide us through this time. Whatever we desire to do and whatever action we take, God says yes. As we engage and as we tune into God and cultivate that relationship even more, we will know what is ours to do. Our nation needs us to commit to our spiritual practices more than ever, and to do our inner work and to speak up for what isn't right. And as we engage fully with Spirit within us, we will be given the absolute perfect tools, resources, insights, strength to do what is needed. Prayer is powerful. We all know this, but action is also needed. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, said, "Treat and move your feet," which means pray and take action. This is a powerful combination when we tap into the divinity that is within us, praying for guidance, all the while taking that first step. We can't see the future completely laid out in front of us, but we can trust. We can trust. As we cultivate that relationship with God, we trust even more, and we take that first step. And as we engage with the divine, we will know what to do. This is God speaking to us in those moments when we get that intuitive hit. That is God speaking to us. It's God tapping us on the shoulder, guiding us in a particular direction, whispering in our ear. And the more we practice engaging with God in this way, we will always know what action to take. It will be clear and we can trust it. God isn't just with us in those moments of peace and calm and tranquility and in the stillness. God is with us in the hostility and in the dissent and in the discord. No matter who we are or what we do, God is engaged with us and as us. And as we open ourselves to that truth, and as we trust and have faith in the divine in our lives, we will have the courage to stand up for what we believe in and to express our greatest potential in the world and commit to that. William Hutchinson Murray says this: until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would not otherwise have occurred. So let's all make a commitment to engage with the divine in a way that we never have before. Our nation needs this. Our families need this. Our communities need this. And as we do, our lives will be transformed. For when we say yes to God, God says yes to us. And the more we cultivate that relationship, we will hear the voice of God within us, inviting us to join together with others, to be a healing presence for our families, for our communities, for our nation, and for our world. Let's pray. And so we know in this precious time in this world, we know that that divine essence of spirit is moving powerfully through each one of us, guiding us, directing us, supporting us, giving us exactly what we need, helping us to cultivate and strengthen that relationship even more. And I am knowing that as we do that, that our hearts expand and open, burst open with such love, with faith, with trust. We are guided to do exactly what is ours to do. And I am knowing that that is different for each one of us. That we are taking a step and we are taking a stand for this nation, for our planet, for our communities. That love that bubbles up within us and overflows and touches all around us. That beam of light goes out and it just bathes all those who are struggling, all those who are feeling less than, all those who are hurting, all those who are feeling helpless, hopeless. Our light goes out and it surrounds them and it touches them and it uplifts and it heals. For that is who we are. Our souls came here to be that expression, to be that light, to be that love. That is who we are for our families, for the nation, for the world. And so with that, we give thanks. We give thanks for knowing this truth. We give thanks for feeling this vibration and this energy move through every cell, through every fiber of our being. And we know that this light carries us through this time with such grace, such love. And so with that, we let this go. We trust, we allow. And with gratitude in our hearts, we say together, and so it is. Amen.